It's online things. Like we had girls last year that they lit tampons on fire. They were throwing them like target practice in the hallway at a school. And you're just like this thing.
Wait. First of all,
The tissues for school.
First of all, my question is, I didn't even know tampons was flammable. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of More Than 94, where former athletes redefine success. And today's guest, we have Jesscia Saddler. She is originally from Oklahoma. She was recruited by the University of Kansas for rowing, and after completing her bachelor's and master's, she took up a job in teaching in Lawrence. She is currently a secondary science teacher, coach, and she does adjunct type work in the agricultural industry. Welcome, Jesscia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the More Than 94. And so the main gist of the podcast, basically showing Division I athletes or just athletes in general that decide to go pro or doing exceptionally well after sport. Because I feel like one kind of glorifies that we only hear from like professional athletes, whereas people out here being great, doing other things than basketball. So can you give us the story or the background of how like sports formed your background and how you got into rowing? You were our first rower on the podcast.
I'm so surprised. Yeah, I've never. So I did like a little kid, like a lot of different kind of sports, just testing out stuff. And then getting into high school, picked up volleyball. And then I did track for a couple of years of high school and did some basketball for a little bit. And then it came time for school. And I'm like, I don't know if I can afford to do this just to go and not be anything else. So I started filling out athletic questionnaires and different stuff like that. And I had some offers for volleyball and ran that burnout cycle. You're like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. Like I've given my time. I'm poop. And I wanted to go to KU. They had a really great program for what I wanted. So I got recruited for rowing from there and came up, and it is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done. Easy, all 4 years. And so that's how I got to that part. So I used athletics and athletic ability as my educational driver because I wanted to go to college and it was my way to get there.
It was rowing a club sport in there, or is it actual like NCAA sport?
Yeah, they actually have both. So the club sport is men's and women's. And then they have women's club, like NCAA, and that's what I did. So, like, got a scholarship, competed in the Big 12 tournaments, all that stuff. So, OU has the program, K-State, Texas, all the things. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know anything about that.
You should hear some of these stories about like their training. We did the Boyer Mile, or we did the Manchester United on the football field. You know, like these girls were out there running in the rain, rowing in the rain, go run 3 miles, get in the boat and row another 10. It's crazy stuff. I'm like, I could have never done it.
So they tried to recruit me in high school to go on the rowing team. It was a club sport in our high school. I didn't know you had to swim. You want me to get on this boat and row?
Yeah, that's one. I can't do that.
I'm not. No.
We allowed to do the swim test. That was like a part of your freshman, like you're on the team. And so they took you to the pool where the swim and dive team does their stuff. They're like, okay, you can't die for 15 minutes. Like you've got to be in there. So I'm like treading water and I'm only going to swim if it's for fun. And by that, I'm probably just going to be by the water. So I'm in there and I'm dying, treading. And so I get to the area, the person that's like making sure none of us tank. I said, what is the expectation for this test? Do I just not have to die? And they're like, yeah, like you just have to prove that you could, like your boat wrecks, you can stay afloat until somebody can get there to help. So I literally laid on my back and floated over the last probably crazy.
So what is that person, real quick, is also, what is that little person that's in the front?
Coxswain.
Okay.
You don't need that out. That's what.
So I think that's what they're trying to put me at. And I was like, I'm good. It's just boat tip or something.
Oh, it's rap.
It's a rap. That's what they're trying to put me at in high school, that little part, but that person right there.
No, because like I tried to get in the area just one time and it's really like I couldn't even get my hips down into the chair. It was like, I think this time that I was.
You ain't gonna be there.
Gotcha. So wow, because that's different. But wow, was there any challenges with rowing? Because I don't even know what like the season as far as like when it comes to school. Do you get injured? I feel like you wouldn't even get injured in that sport because it's. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's 2 seasons. There's a fall and a spring season. It's an all year, like there's no off season except sometimes summer. So the fall season is the sprint season. So all of that is head to head. So it starts. So we would go out to Oak Ridge, Tennessee to row. And like one of the ones that we did, there's probably 300, 400 boats and that's a small boat season. So you might be in a boat by yourself. You might be with one other person. You might be with up to 4 people. And you start out at the starting line. You're just racing the clock. So the girl that started first probably isn't getting first. It just depends on how fast you can beat the clock. And so the last time we did it, I think I was second from last, just the order that it ended up being in, and took 8 because you're just out there like, okay, you're talking, you're playing mind games because you're alone. Then, or you're trying to run into other people. When you're in those small boat seasons, you're rowing, but you're also steering the boat, and you have to be able to go around people, and you can't cross like buoy lines, or they add to your time. So it's all against the clock. And then when it gets season, it's like a track meet where you're out a starting line, like everybody's lined up, like they're holding your boat so nobody is in front of anybody else. It is in a line, and then they give you like a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and you go, and whoever crosses first wins that one. So
Okay.
If I did the individual boat season deal, they'd be like, Angie, why's your boat keep going in circles? I could not. There's no way I could. You want me to steer
that's
it,
it.
man, throw it, and make it
well,
move
it
the
gets
same
wild when you're steering. My favorite, we were in Tennessee, but we were somewhere else, and I'm going and I'm steering this boat, and there's other people in it with me, but these 2 girls that are like behind us, but I can see them because I'm rowing and turning around and doing the steering, and they get in a fight. Just one cut the other one off. So the girl takes her oar because they're so long. Like they don't look that long when you're like watching it on TV or whatever, but they're like several feet. So she gets mad at this girl and takes it and pulls it like this and just clips like the body of the girl next to her and flips her whole boat, and they're like jawing at each other. It was what?
I don't even know how you was out there fighting rowing. No. Fighting and rowing.
Oh God.
That's wild.
She's like, time out. Let's wait till we get on land, and then I'm gonna see.
What do we know? On the wall. Tell her trying to find me in the water. It's terrible. Okay, so what like prompts you to go into teaching? Because teaching is not that hard, not an easy career path.
For real gangster.
Yeah. So I think like standard for my age group, it seems like I thought about doing marine biology, and then had that moment where I'm like, I live in Oklahoma. It's been happening. Like it doesn't even rain. I switched. I used to work at my grand's daycare and would do like special ed summer school. Andrew and I did a lot of stuff with the Special Olympic program, like in high school, and help with like bowling week sometimes and stuff. So it prompted me for a passion of working with kids. And then I was originally, when I came to KU, I already knew I was going to row, and I thought I was going to go into early childhood. So then I, like, when my grams retired, I was going to take over her daycare and let them be. And I think I made it maybe 2 days on campus, and I'm in the athletic advisory office. I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I'm here now, and now I need to change my plan. And this is what I want to do. And so I'm like, can't wait too long because then I'm going to like be on the nest. So switched it, and it's just the thing I wanted to do. I really like kids. They're a mess, but they keep you on your toes, and the stories from that are wild. So I ended up doing elementary for a little bit, got my master's in special ed. So when I was doing elementary, I was having, it was a general ed class, but like I was working with a lot of kids on IEPs. Like they were in my general ed class. It was different. And did that, liked it, and then moved to middle school. To the Lord's where
all the attitude happens in middle school. Why didn't you listen? I feel like the daycares, they make bank for sure.
Man,
You don't want to take over the daycare.
See, what happened was I taught to me, college me. I might change my mind, but I was dead at that. This is what I wanted to do, but you are not wrong. You are not wrong.
Daycare
But
cash
I
out.
pay in daycare, and you got 20 other people paying in daycare. Like, more than that, depending on how big it is. Them things, they make a killing. If it's a good
Even
daycare,
the one, even the not so good daycares are making money.
unfortunately.
The ones that are watching your kids running around in their diapers with no shirt on, still making good money.
Here, barefoot.
When they're changing my diapers, oh, like,
Well, my
so what kind of like challenges what kind of challenges did you like going into teaching in general? Just I don't like how long have you been teaching, and then what kind of challenges have you faced within just teaching?
I know.
And it has sports, and also has sports kind of sports prepare you for the challenges or help you in any kind of way to face any of those challenges.
That's actually where I was going to start. Even though it sounds like a cliche, like a motivational poster, like really doing like Division I college athletics and specifically in rowing, because I thought other stuff was like hard. You have a hard practice. And you're like, we really looked over. But after doing rowing, I'm like, every day was a workover. Like the amount of times I would like crying behind my sunglasses, like glad it's a water sport. Like you were just having a time. It feels like almost every day. But we find ways to be more mentally like capable. So I'd sit there and be like, okay, like I'm only gonna do 4 of everything. Like I've started this. I will be finishing this. And it's 4 of everything. Like because 4 you're only doing it once. And so getting through those mentalities, and then when it comes to you have years that your students are a home run. Like they're gonna do stupid stuff, but like they're good people and they're willing to try and things like that. So you're like, okay, like, this is a great year. I was meant to do this. Yes. And then after having them for 10 months, you get your next group because it's always a new group. And you're like, oh, I have made some mistakes. This is not fun because as a group, they are not good together. And by that point, it's too late. Like you were still together for the next 10 months. So it's sitting and thinking, okay, like, how can I do this? How can I think of different phrasing? How can I be the mentor that ideally your coach was? Because every coach, no matter your sport, is a mentor in one way or the other. Like you pick up things that you're like, I would absolutely love somebody to think that about me. And I would absolutely not love to be thought about that way, but it's just real. It happened. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I think those things transpire into teaching. I think I am probably like more respectfully, like with kids and stuff like that. There's things that you're just not going to put that here. This isn't me being scary or mean or anything like that. That's just not what we're doing because that's not responsible. It's not being a good human. Like, not. And so there'll be different stuff where they're like, Miss Saddler, like that was strict. And I'm like, you would think anything is strict in middle school because I make you follow the rules and you don't like it. And they'll be like, yeah, true. And then you just like, move on to different things. But it's having expectations and stuff like that and helping them follow through. Because I think back to like athletic, if you're not meeting that standard, you're not on the team. Goodbye.
Yeah,
And there's no, yeah, and there's no amount of parent phone calls and stuff like that. I would have unalived myself if I found out that my mom is calling in for me. Like,
and they do it. And the sad part about it is that it happens in college.
Yeah.
When I found that out, mine was blown. Like, what? Terrible.
I would never.
I know. Like, I love that you love me, but if I found out that you were doing, like, I'm emancipated. Like, and
Yes.
that kind of mentality, I mean, it happens a lot in education too, where I'm like you look at the parent, and again, I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate that they're keeping me in a job and having kids and all that business. But sometimes you look at them, but did you not hear what I just told you that your child did? Do you hear that? And so being able to navigate some of those conversations and stuff too.
Yeah. So yeah, you're doing kids and parents. So that's got to be,
Yeah.
there's 2 different approaches you got to take.
Or you take one thuggish approach to both of them.
No. That is different. It is different, especially if I have 2 little boys. They're rowdy, but they're boys. But still, there's a line, bro. You can't be acting a whole fool out here, and you gotta be disciplined. And if somebody say no, stop, that means stop.
It's online things. Like we had girls last year that they lit tampons on fire. They were throwing them like target practice in the hallway at a book. And you're just like this thing.
Wait. First of all,
Detention's in school.
my question is, I didn't even know tampons was flammable.
Wow. Now
And you
we all do.
turning them
We all do.
take you somewhere else, but it's like, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yes.
100%. And kids, like, their bold factor, like, when I started at my middle school, it was my first week, so I don't really know anybody that's not in my class yet, 'cause I haven't had it, whatever. And so I'm standing in the hallway, and this girl, like, drops all her business trying to get to the bus. Oh, okay. So I'm down there helping her pick it up. And I have this 8th grade boy, still to this day, I don't even know him because I didn't know him then, but walked by and just did like full on boop, like from behind. And I like stand up because I'm thinking I'm a kid. And I like the look on his face, like he turns around and he sees that it's the teacher that he has just had this moment with. And his friend grabs him and takes him down a hallway. And I'm like, I don't really know what to do. That wasn't cool, but I don't know who he is. And it might be on camera, but it might not. Where am I? What is this? They just, they are not the same, I think, social filter we grew up with. They're a different animal. Different animal.
So in your first couple of years, because I know teachers usually, let's say usually, but some teachers, like, after that first year, they're like, I'm over. I'm going to do something else. How did you get past that? Like, your first year of teaching? Or did you just love teaching? Like, it was not a big deal for you? Because sometimes it's not a big deal for some people. It's just everybody's experience is different. I know some people like, oh, teaching is so hard, it sucks or whatever. And then I'm like, no, it's fine. I love it, regardless of how terrible these kids may be or not.
Yeah, I think it depends. A lot of it does depend on the group that you start out with. That's 100% true. And it depends on where you start out too, because it's not always the kid and it's not always the parent. Like sometimes it's literally the school district that you are in and they're saying like, this is what you're going to do. And then you have to sit and think, do I as an individual human agree with that? And yeah, no. And then, okay, well, I, as an employee of this institution, I'm expected to do certain things. And sometimes there are a lot of internal conversations that you're having all the time. But my first year, I actually ended up having a group of kids that I had for my student teaching. So I student taught at the school and I did my general ed student teaching, but I was also doing my special ed student teaching. And I was having pretty much all the kids. So I taught grade for a year and then it came time to 5th grade and my principal came to me and was like, hey, so that group you had when you were student teaching. I said, yeah. Would you consider looping up with them? They were great, but naughty. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Let's give it a whirl. I think it'll be all right. And that was probably my favorite year of teaching with just because it was real. And the kids eventually got to a point where they like wanted to tell you stuff and you're having conversations and you kind of are like, man, like you're 10 years old, but you are living a life right now. Like, I don't know if I could do what you're doing. Like, okay. And so that piece of it, like if they're showing up for school every day, I can show up for them because what they're going through is like,
Is this an inner city school? Is this your school inner city?
it's so the schools that I've worked at, they are technically like the one in Lawrence. I mean, it's Lawrence. Lawrence is pretty nice in general, like it is. But that particular school it was an ESL cluster site. So you would have kids moving in from like a actual various amount of other countries, maybe because there's a parent that's going to school at KU, or maybe they're going to try to get a job there, or so and so's family is already here, so they're going to come to town from wherever that is to be around the family and have that support and stuff like that. It was definitely like a more kind of inner city experience. And then the school that I'm at now, it is like outside of the KC metro, but it services a really like similar dynamic of a lot of people get there, set up roots, and then family intends to come. So it's a really high transient population, a lot of different stuff, a lot of different.
Do you feel like do you feel like how you grew up with blue collar parent, grandparent, that you relate more to these kids? Or do you feel like if you were in a school similar to how you grew up, that you would relate more to those kids?
I think that I have found like my preferred place. So I like when people talk about being in like maybe like the private sector. So you're teaching at a private school, or if you're like, there's schools even in my district that I would not choose to want to work at, not because they're bad, but they're not a fit for me. I want to deal with, because it's a whole other set of problems. You might not have some of the struggles going on in your personal life, but that becomes a whole other set of problems that I don't want that in my life. I'm not inviting that. I am where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like what else I say? Oh, so I feel like when we went to school, we had like favorite teachers, but I didn't never like I don't know if it was just us or me or our generation. Like I never told my teacher like anything. Their teachers all the things, or people asking because they see a certain behavior. But I'm like, when I hear these stories, I'm like, I would never tell my teacher that. Like they're my teacher. That we don't have that type of. I guess I had an art teacher that had, but still did it like and maybe I was private or I don't know, but I just feel like kids they're just like they're
Tell they business.
everything.
My mom would tell me at the beginning of every school year, until I got older and I knew the protocol, don't you go in here telling them folks what's going on in my house. That was it. And
No, teachers are like, look, see a behavior and like maybe something's going on which is probably your job to do, yeah. But there's not, you would never know something was going on at my house.
No. There's so much unsolicited information that like comes to my door. Or they'll be like, Miss Saddler, do you want to know something? And I'm like, who could say? Because I'm not going to tell you no if it's something you really need to share. But like, what comes in my mind, I'm like, oh, please don't tell me. Like, I don't want to know. And they'll be like, I got that. Miss Saddler, we have to tell you something. Oh, you don't? Do you? Okay. I'm like, if you need to tell me, I will listen. But is this really something that you need to share? So and so is sending nudes to so and so. I'm like, nope, stop. That is not. I want to see go
in middle school, y'all. Middle school.
social media. There's not anything on the internet that you can't Google, screenshot, and then share. Or if you have a question, curiosity killed the cat. Google.
Yeah.
Or like they have everything they need in their hand. And so now you're being exposed to probably more sexual content at a younger age because of Instagram and Facebook and Lord knows whatever else, that they probably like, oh, this is normal. I see it on the internet. So why not take a picture of these and send it to a guy? Yeah.
Or even like remote learning. Hey, as long as you're willing to like unmute and share, you do not have to turn on your camera. Because the cameras would come on and I saw like parents in like various like stages of clothing. Because like they're in their house and so sometimes the cameras would come on and I was like, absolutely not.
I don't think I tried. Damn, let's I might somewhere, no better.
It's like we really
I knew to share.
Oh my gosh. The amount of fire alarms for not it's like did somebody phone me as a 9-volt battery? Fireman.
They don't even notice it. I'm like, like you don't notice that it's going off. Like it's probably been going off all the time. And then don't have a fire because I hope it does what it's supposed to do. Because at this point, that battery probably been dead for 2 years. And
These kids have the ability to just block stuff out.
There's no way I could have just sat there and like I can immediately. That's what like even because we do the building homes and like if it's just vacant and you go in there and that's the first thing I hear. And I'm like, how do people just sit there and just not hear that? Like,
how do you sleep with that going off? That's like having a cricket in your room.
That is, it wasn't even just like one. There were like several.
I look at outside of anything. Like nobody wants to have time to get a better. I'm just like, bro, then we need to get these things hardwired and worry about a battery. Please. But anyway, so any setbacks that he faced that you would give advice to others, like facing similar challenges, maybe in the teaching field or the collegiate, especially in rowing. I don't know most of our setbacks are probably the same, just in different contexts. But like in teaching, any setbacks that you have faced that you could share, that how you handle that?
I think in any setback situation, you have to look for the things that work for you. So, like, when I was still in school and I had done my 4 years, but the way the program for teaching was set up at the time is you had to do a 5th year. No matter what, you were gonna be a super senior, it didn't matter. Because during that 5th year, you were doing your student teaching. It was required. And while you were doing that student teaching, you were taking some classes that would help you get toward, like, an education type master's, as long as that's what you were looking for in some way. And so I'm getting to the end of my, like, first senior year, getting ready to start that graduate year where I have to do the student teaching. How am I gonna make this work? And so I petitioned the NCAA for my scholarship. And I was like, hey, I gave you my 4 years. My degree is no good at all without this student teaching. Like, I held up my end of the bargain. I'm petitioning you for my scholarship for my 5th year. Won. And they gave it
Wow.
to me.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Me either.
I wanted
Like-
so needed. Like I was already I had a red shirt, but like I didn't know you can petition because I didn't want to go to grad school. I had a 5th year to play and it was gonna play, but like after that, I'm like I'm not paying for after that, so I just double major. I didn't know you could petition. I should have petitioned. Golly, these things.
You don't know. So this could be a setback, but what is the thing in here that I can make work for me? And then I found out that I can do that. And I was like, I'm going to do that.
Who told you?
And so
Who told you petition?
I ended up finding out just like randomly from making a connection with somebody. Like just, hey, 'cause I'm talking about this situation. And, you know, like it's kind of like a meeting of the mind. Like you're just
Yeah.
problem solving. Hey, this is the reality that I'm looking at. Could be a setback. And they're like, did you know you could do this? And I'm like, I do now. So then I started looking into it, won the petition, and got my scholarship for that 5th year. So during that 5th year, I was student teaching, working a job, and I took enough hours to finish my whole master's that year. So it wasn't.
So back up for just a second. So if I'm gonna go petition, how do I go petition? Like, not you gotta tell me every single step, but like for people that's listening or people that are about to be don't know how they gonna pay for their last year's food, and then athlete, how do you put in that?
I went on to the website and I had to write a letter. Like you had to write a letter that, and then you have to have like getting a hardship case if you're playing basketball and you're like transferring schools and stuff like that. So you write a letter that really explains I gave you, that's basically what was in my letter. Like I fulfilled my commitment. I gave you what I was supposed to give you. Like I'm supposed to be a student athlete. I am trying to still be a student and I gave you my
You first.
So what are you going to And so you turn in all this stuff and they get back with you and they were like, yeah, we'll do it. And I'm like, cool, thanks.
Because I bet you
So-
not people petition for though. I bet you that doesn't not all.
Well, now they're giving out COVID year times 2, 3 redshirt years because you got injured. I bet you it's
Right.
easier now to do that. During our time, that was unheard of.
Or they might not be giving it out because they give the COVID year. So they might not, but before they probably nobody does it. I'm gonna go ahead and be like nobody knows.
Great. That is a gym
That's-
there.
And cheat code, what is it?
It is. It is. It's good to know.
That's just no, but anyway, yeah, I'm sorry.
So I did that. And then while I was still getting some financial assistance, I just loaded down to get it all done. Cause I'm like, you're only going to get this once. Like I'm smart, like I'm aware enough to see it. I'm not getting any COVID years. This is before that. Like my time is coming to an end. How can I still use this athletic opportunity that I've been given to further who I want to when I can't do this anymore? Like I can go be on red team. Like I still go and compete in the sports I like played and stuff. And it's a good time, but it's not the thing. And so they like, hey, you're sunsetting. And I think that's the like hardest thing in any sport, like to really realistically have that conversation with yourself. Because other people can have it with you, but you don't want to listen. You don't want to listen to other people because there's like that. What if I'm the one in 5th grade? What if? And so being able to say, what is the reality that I'm going to do a lot more at this level beyond this?
Right.
So it's probably not real. So how can you use what you've still got while you still got it? And so then during that last year, I started doing that. I really just slowed it down. And then like, how can I keep this like how can I keep doing this stuff? Like what else can I use it for? I got into marathon for a while. Do I like running? Pretty like digging. Like not only am I using this like scholarship money, but I want to use this physical fitness I have. What else can I do with this that is something that I might want to do down the road. I'm like, how many people have ran a marathon? I'm like, not a lot. Okay, I'll do that. So I did 3 of them and got into like half marathon running. It was a fun time. But now I have to walk something upstairs, like the pile at the bottom of my stairs is high because I'm like, whoa. But that's a different time in life. So really to look at where you are and figure out how you can use all those things that you have at that time
Right.
to your other goals and other stuff. Because like once you're an athlete, you're always an athlete.
Well, for
Like
sure.
you always have a mentality. Like I freaking hate losing. It doesn't matter what it is. Like people come over for game nights at my house and I hear myself, can't stop myself. Like I'm bullying the table over like video games or yard game. Like it doesn't matter.
Don't matter. It does not matter. And then I'm like, oh, no big deal. Oh, so in my feelings.
And like I'll take pictures of like first place stuff and send it to my friends the next day. And they still come over. I'm like, I don't know that I would be a friend. Like I'm annoying, but I can't help it. I can't help it. And so it's that kind of stuff where you have to take for things that you learn during your athletic time. Like I know how to set a goal for myself.
Right.
I know how to promote that I can do hard things because these are the things I've done. I know how to promote that I may not be like on paper that perfect thing for that job, but here are all the other things I have.
The intangible. The intangible.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not find anybody that leadership's like me. You're not going to find, I'm not going to be the one that's calling into work, calling, oh, I don't feel good because you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. People
And it's hard to find. It's hard to find people like that, honestly, because I found out about just working in general in corporate America, right? You have people like us that do the intangibles. Like we do it. I'm like, I've never had to say I'm a hard worker. But if you ask somebody I'm a hard worker, they're gonna say, oh, for sure she is. But I've never had to say it. So I've worked in the background of hiring people in like the temp service. Every time I pass on the people that sit there and tell me how hard of a worker they are. Because if you're sitting here telling me and trying to convince me you're a hard worker, you're not a hard worker. And I think as an employer, sometimes they overlook those people that have those intangible assets, and then they don't figure it out until that person leaves. And like, ooh, like
Yep.
they did the intangibles, and now we're missing out on those intangibles. We didn't think that because I can boast. Like I had a conversation with my husband Jabari, and I'm just like, listen, like I could be around here pumping my chest, and be like, bro, I'm that girl, but I'm not that kind of person. Can't nobody do what I can do, and at the level I can do it. I could be that person. Like I could truly be that person on a lot of levels, but I'm not that person. And people, you get overlooked. Even when we were getting recruited, and you're like, I could have went somewhere, but I'm just like, I want to go somewhere and play. I don't want to go somewhere and sit on the bench for 4 years, and then on my senior year, oh, she's really good. I better be. I didn't play in front of. Oh, I didn't practice all these All-Americans. Go somewhere where I can play immediately. Not saying I couldn't go somewhere else and compete, because I can compete. I'm 35. Put me out there today, and I'm gonna compete. With so.
Believe it. I believe it.
And so it's just sometimes I feel like those people get overlooked just because they're not vocalizing, or be like, oh, look at me, when we have those intangibles and like what you bring to the table as a teacher. But you probably are not out there, bro. I'm the best teacher at the school district. Come see me.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable thing to even filling out like the podcast questions about like, what are you up to? And I'm like, ugh. And I literally told Angie like after, man, I hope she doesn't think I'm just like wah wah, because like
No.
how do I describe without sounding just like a total, not like even answering simple questions about yourself and that, because it's exactly what you just said. Like, how am I going to put this into practice where I just, in my mind, I would just want to be like, just meet me. That's all I want.
That's just me. I don't have to do all this other. I don't have to. I'm not going to talk. I don't talk about myself in general. Like, but if you just see me and you see what I'm doing, like that's what you gonna get with me. So that's what I'm like, and but again, when you're not a talker, I'm this, that, and other. I got this, and this. I feel like sometimes those people do get overlooked only because they're not just out there like this. And then they're like, oh, I didn't realize you were that good at that. Yeah. If you just
Good. Talking cheap.
come and sit.
Talking cheap. You have those people out there.
Other people are awkward like me. People say talking shit, will fall for it every single time.
They do. But you have those guys or girls that have the mega resumes because they go to all the trainings, all the summits, all this. I did the little 30-minute class online to get the certificate. And then you have people like us three that just let my work speak for itself. Give me the opportunity. Guarantee you can't none of y'all outwork me.
They can't very well work me. I put it.
But I didn't put on that ghost thing already.
You have more things behind your name, but you're not gonna outwork me. And
oh, and just because you went to a class or a summit doesn't mean that you're a hard worker. You took the time to boast your resume,
or you could pass a test.
Yeah, you took a little 30-minute class so you can get a certificate to put in a book to say that you did it. That's all. You know,
this is what I found out. Like, even coaching little kids, right? And I coached a group of kids in the Boys and Girls Club, and we were terrible. We won one game, and I'm not mad about it. But one thing is that you don't give effort. Now, and I'm upset that you're not giving effort. I'm not upset that we lost. I'm upset that you're not giving effort. And then the fact that we lost and you over here smiling, like, that's not what we're doing. About a game. I get it. Y'all are trying to learn basketball, but we're going to learn the right way. You just lost, and I want you to feel how it feels to lose. Like, losing, I have to tell you, like, losing is not okay. That's never okay. So it's just, and I was giving the group of kids, and I feel like I'm always giving the group of kids that nobody wants to coach, right? And so one year I had to coach these 60-year-old boys, and I'm like, they don't listen to nobody. They don't do this. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's everybody else. And so they got it, and they thought they gonna try it. They thought they were gonna try it. And I said, this is not what we're doing. This is not what we're doing. I don't care how good you are. I said, if you don't come to practice, you don't play, and we will lose because one of the best players, if we did play, we would absolutely gonna lose. But I didn't care because you're not just gonna show up to a game and be like, oh, put me in. No, sir. You gonna sit here and watch us lose because you didn't come to practice. And then a parent, and I'm the world's worst. You don't want me to talk to your parents because it's just like, you're not gonna put my son in the game. That's it. Did he come to practice? She said, no, but if this is just a city league, okay, we don't sign him up. You gotta. Well, I don't care who you had a coach before, but if he didn't come to practice, I'm gonna go tell the director. Man, guess what? They don't pay me. I don't care who you go tell. He's still not going to play. He gonna sit on this bench and do it. And so it's just like the people that don't want to handle those kids or, oh, they're a problem. Sometimes it's just, you don't know how to relate to those kids, or they just don't have respect. At the end of the day, they just don't have respect for you. You don't make them have respect for you. Yep. And then they're not bad kids. It's just that you just know how to approach those kids, and then and it's nobody else wants to do it. And that's the intangible I'm talking about. I'm like, you're not going to get somebody that's willing to just take some random tasks and do stuff. And then what I was trying to say too is even like if I don't know something or know how to do, like, it's figuring out critical thinking skills. And I think that's just an all-time low nowadays. Like across the board, not even like people younger, nothing. Even people that are my age. And sometimes they just lack those critical thinking skills. And I'm just like, those are the intangibles. Like, you can't coach critical thinking skills, or you can't. This is something that you can't hire sometimes. I'm like, you got to figure it out. You can't go. I feel like people are like, oh, I got 4 tasks and my anxiety. And I'm not saying I have anxiety. But I feel like sometimes they use that as a crutch. I'm like, no. Bro, figure it out. It's tough. And it just
a problem.
Words to you. And I feel like we just make up these words, but it's high anxiety. No, you just don't know how to do the task. Let's just get tough. I feel like people are not more.
Sometimes goes to a person who throws the biggest hissy fit. So it's like, you're getting a promotion or you're getting this other thing just because you squeak the loudest. But come with these other skills is getting overlooked, except when it comes to who they're going to give more work.
That part. They know you get that fast done, they will give it.
My charger is ringing right now because there is more work to be done. So you're coming to me because you know it's going to get done and it's going to be quality. But person over here and they're getting the trade-off benefit that really probably should be going to the person who is just doing what they're supposed to do and getting overlooked when it comes to that part.
Yeah. It's unfortunately the world that we live in. So they do that. I came from a situation where came down to bonuses or whatever, and mine got cut in half. And I asked, I know a bonus is not necessarily earned, but I just was curious, like, why did mine be cut in half? And because I want.
You don't think a bonus is earned?
Huh?
You don't think a bonus is earned?
It's not like necessarily. It's not guaranteed. In my situation, it's not. It wasn't a guaranteed bonus. It wasn't like a part of my compensation package. It was just a bonus. And she was just like, oh, because I want somebody to go above and beyond. Man. I said, so you telling me, I said, first, you're not necessarily telling me I don't work hard. You can tell, you can say, oh, Shania, you got a smart mouth. I don't like you some days. I can take that on the chin because I do. But you're not going to say I didn't work hard. It's not that. I said, because I worked up. I said, so then what is it? You do. I said, so then say that. Don't say that I didn't work hard. You to make an excuse. Just say, oh, I don't like you because you got a smart mouth. And I'm like, okay, I respect that. But you're not going to sit here and say I don't work hard. And so then you got another girl that got her bonus cut. And she literally wrote every single thing that she does from the time she walked in the door. So if you got time to write that down from 8 o'clock to 5 and everything you do in those minutes, you're not working. Because that took you right there 2 hours to write down everything you're doing. You ain't working.
That's not including cigarette papers.
And so I quit. So I was over it. What? To play me like that. And I'm just like, no, you go ahead and give her. And she got the rest of her bonus. She said, go ahead and type the rest of her bonus up. I said, oh, because I'm the one who did payroll.
I'm still working.
I'm like, what? I said, don't worry about it. I put my emails in. I'll holler at y'all. I'm not doing. I'm not gonna. And that's what I'm saying. But then that person, and you know the person, but that person knows, like, I had my worst ethic was never in question. For you to say something like that, you was trying to get rid of me. Oh, I knew that was coming. So you was trying to get rid of me.
But being a woman about it and just, yes.
Just say, you know. No, I can't.
Yeah, don't try to do me in.
We were in, I was coaching a high school volleyball, we were in a high school volleyball tournament. And the school that we're going against, two of the girls just, I'm like, you're playing. I don't know why you're upset. Walk off the court. And both go, I wish I was kidding. I'm like looking through the net, like it just became 6 against 4. Not sure what's happened. Like in the middle of the play, just decide because they have their own personal feelings about the coach that is coaching, which is crazy to me because the lady coaching them, their daughter was an All-American at KU, played overseas. Like this woman knows what she's talking about. Nicest human ever. So these girls are in this personal tiff, walk the court and go up and sit in the bleachers. One girl's parents choose to let her sit there and the other girl's parents literally said, get and sent her out of the stand. Like, you're not sitting here with that. Get back down there. And that was like the most just like eye-opening. There really are 2 options. There's option A, which is currently happening right here. And then there's this other option where they're like, no, you won't be doing this, and send her back down. So the girl walks back down. She walks back down fully expecting to walk back into that volleyball game. I'm like, I'll put her on the bench and just let her sit there and finish it. You can't even.
Just because it's not even about her though. And that's what sometimes the kids miss the point. I had to, mind you, these are 1st and 3rd graders. And I probably should have, I just don't have no better way to say it. But like those kids are missing the point. You're not only, you thinking about yourself, but you're being a bad teammate. That's a terrible teammate. Who wants to play with you after I run to quit because you got an attitude? You're not only being you worried about yourself, you being a terrible teammate. And that's what some of these kids don't realize. Like, why would you expect your teammate to go out here and play with you when they looked over and you just walk off at any point in time?
They trust you. Like, you all day long because you couldn't have bad new street.
Yep.
And I think I can't do it.
I can't trust you.
And you quit on me. That's selfishness. And I'm sure she's not thinking about all these things, but you're being selfish. You're being a bad teammate. You're a quitter. You're not dependable. Like all those things you can just name by you just walking off the court like that.
But that also is going.
Me coaching on the other side, I'm looking at him like, okay, the game's over. We're just going to attack. If that girl were to come back in the game, do you see the one crying over there? They're a bit hurt. You literally made your entire teammate have targets on their back. This is over.
Like they were being one little kids didn't want to go in. She was the only girl on the team. She was so embarrassed with it. This game like this. There's no reason for you to be embarrassed anymore at this point. Your mom paid her money. I literally have to tell this, look, your mom paid her money. You're going to go in the game. I said, you're not. I said, he wanted a break because he's tired. He's going to have like 6 people. I said, you're being a horrible teammate right now because he can come out and he's tired and you don't want to go in because you're being. I said, don't you sign up for basketball no more. I said, don't you sign up for basketball. I told her I'm probably the terrible, but I'm just like, you can't, like, bro, no, don't tell your mom you want to play basketball. You're older than you. Then she was in 3rd grade, but I'm just like, you're being a terrible teammate to the rest of the kids, and it's unfair to them that you don't want to go in. And he's hired, and we only got 5 people. Like, don't sign up for basketball ever again. Like, at this point, don't do it.
But also, like, getting that different mentality. I remember being, like, playing little kid, like, little dribbles, like, little kid basketball. We're probably in, like, 5th grade, and we're in this championship, and we lose. And I'm all in my feels because I'm just upset that we lost. And I remember being back at the house, like, sitting outside, just I am moping. I am upset. I am sad. And my mom comes out. She sits there for a second. She goes, "Somebody had to lose, and it just sucks it was you. It got walked away." I'm like, fired from the shots fired, Jenny. Like, she just looks at me and says, "Somebody had to lose. Sorry it was you. Suck," and walked away. And I'm like, okay. And then I think about that even like now, like coaching and different stuff. And, the girls were still crying about different things like happened at sub-state volleyball. And they're like, "What do you want to say to us?" And I'm basically like, "Let's not motivational. I can tell you that. You're not a senior. I don't really know why you're crying because ideally you'll be here next year." And
No,
she's like, maybe we should think about how sad we are right now. And if we had felt this kind of passion, let's call it, on the court, instead of being worried what we looked like and worried for ourselves making mistakes, probably would have been a different outcome. So maybe we should spend the summer thinking about this. And then whenever we're on this stage again, hopefully the lights aren't as bright. And it's just, like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't want to listen, but then you're like, bro,
then you're sad. That's part. Like, you don't want to listen while we're in the game, but then you want to be sad because you're off. If you listen, you learn. Listen.
Yep.
But for people listening to the podcast, what are some takeaways that you could give a person that's leaving college the last year, even a person that's like in their first year of teaching, and any words of encouragement or any lessons that you've learned that you would like for people to know throughout your career and your career?
I think it's look at the situation and kind of find what works for you. But usually things aren't as horrible as they seem. You can find little pockets of goodness, and that can turn around a lot of stuff. I think the other one is decide the no's you're okay with. There's a lot of stuff, like I do a lot of grant writing because it's public education, and there's things I want from my classroom, and if I'm not buying it, I'm not getting it. So I'll find grants and programs and stuff like that. And there's times you hear no. And so I will sit with myself and be like, how bad does this no affect me? Is this no? And I'm like, okay, that was a one-off. Like, it didn't really, like, I hoped I got it, but that didn't really matter that much. I'm going to move on. But then there's those no's that you get where you're like, no, this is still something this still has something here for me. And being able to reach back out and saying things like, hey, appreciate your time. What are things that I can work on to make me a stronger candidate? Because a lot of times people get that no and they take it, because a no is personal. When it's something you really want, hearing no, that can be personal.
Yeah.
Like, but like also to be humble enough to return back and acknowledge, no, I really want this. What can I do to turn that around? And I think that the same, you want to be competing in your sport in college. Why aren't you competing? And how can you have an effective conversation about that? Because it's not the day of the competition. It's not the day that you're sitting in class. It's not the day that award gets announced. It's all of the practice days. It's all of the stuff that led up to that. So where are you putting in the work, or could you put in the work to have a different outcome on the big stage? And I think those are probably two of the biggest things, to look for the that work for you, and then figure out if it's something that really matters to you, putting in the extra questions to figure out how you might be able to return to it, and without it being like defeatingly personal. It can be personal and you can be passionate about it and fix it. Or you can be like, oh, forget them, like they just understand me, and then you never know.
So that's good. Well, thanks for coming. That's game. And we're good to go. Thanks for coming on. Let me press recording.